Hey, fellow resistors, Charlie Angus here, the Midas Canada Network. I gotta say, we have been completely overwhelmed with the support we've been receiving from all over the world. I mean, we're only, just a little over a week old. But what's really clear is that there's a need for this conversation about resistance and about standing up to fascism and calling things for what they are, but also doing it in a way that we're building links and connections in our communities and all over the world. I'm going to share with you today some of the great feedback we're getting so you'll get a sense of the network of support that's out there for people like you to stand up for a better world. We've been on the resistance tour. It's been wild. The start off was we started in North Rustico, Prince Edward Island. We've got great footage of being in North Rustico and Charlottetown. We're going to be sharing that soon. I have just a little bit of swag left. Charlie Angus Resistance Tour 2025 North Rustico, Prince Edward Island, and Resistance hats. Hats and buttons. We just got a couple left. I went at the end of the night because they had so much great swag there. Because they were raising money also for a women's shelter. But all the baseball caps were gone. The guitar picks, Charlie Angus Resistance guitar picks that they made, the beer bottle openers, everybody bought everything. But I got a couple. So here's the thing. If you want one, tell us what you're doing in your community for resistance. Send us a message to Midas@charlieangus.ca. We'll put the names in a draw. I know it's not a lot, but these are pretty cool hats. And by the way, you do have to visit Prince Edward Island. Oh my God, what a beautiful place. Before we get into some of the shout-outs, and the response, I want to recognize the people in Alberta who stood up to Danielle Smith and her book banning scheme and totally embarrassed the government. This was an international story. It showed just how ridiculous, not only how ridiculous the Danielle Smith government is, but the gameplay of going after books like Handmaid's Tale in 1984. And that when people stand up and shine a light on it, they panicked. And so they had to withdraw and they had to pull back. So thanks to everyone in Alberta, and I want to give a special shout out to Christine, who said, as a resident of Alberta, I am resisting by being one of the volunteer canvassers in the Forever Canada petition. Over 4,000 Alberta residents are volunteering to show the far right-wing government of Alberta that we are resisting fascism. So if you're in Alberta, please sign the Forever Canada petition. We know that MAG is trying to break our country apart with this false claims that they're going to have a separatist movement. This is very toxic and dangerous stuff that the far right are playing in Alberta. We know that Albertans are as strong as anyone in defending democracy and their love of Canada. So please get involved and sign that petition. Okay, on the resistance tour, we're heading into southern Ontario and then out to Saskatchewan. I had a really interesting interview with the regional CBC, and they asked me the question, well, when a tariff trade deal is arranged and settled, will you be ending the resistance tour? And I said to him that anyone who thinks that we are going to get a deal with a gangster by shaking hands and agreeing on a better price on soya beans is going to be in for a rude shock. That this is not stopping, and this is not about trade, and this is not about a tariff war. We see this with Donald Trump's disgusting AI image of himself as the crazed colonel in Apocalypse Now, and he was bragging about the Chicago apocalypse that he was going to bring on the people there, and how the citizens of that great city were going to learn what it means to have a ministry of war. So for us in Canada, we're looking at a man who's willing to brag about sending the military against his own citizens. Do we think that he's somehow going to exempt us because we're nice and because we signed a trade agreement? It ain't going to happen. That's the resistance to fascism. This is what we have to do. We're holding the line. And the threat is here, and it's a very serious threat. I've been staying up. There's things that keep me up at night. And I've been really thinking about this quote from Louis Fisher, who documented the rise of the Nazis. And Louis Fisher writes, how did Hitler come to power in Germany? Hitler's policy at home and abroad has always been to reveal his plans. Hyper-suspicious of propaganda, however, led many people to doubt what he said. The Nazis boasted that they would rule Germany, and Hitler painted a picture of future rule. Heads will roll, he said. He would destroy democracy, yet democracy tolerated him and helped him take office. The peaceful death of German democracy is one of the strangest chapters in history. German democracy marched to its grave with its eyes wide open and singing, "Beware of Adolf Hitler." Democracy is temperate, but its foe is extremism. I've been thinking about that a lot. I was talking to a great U.S. Congresswoman recently, and she said that, the story that they've been told from the high-ups, the super smart people at the top of the Democratic Party, was not to do anything in the face of this attack on democracy, to just wait it out. When you cede ground to fascists, you lose. That's the lesson here. When it became okay to kidnap people off the streets, then it became okay to arrest judges coming out of their courtrooms who were trying to uphold the rule of law. Then it became okay to throw a senator on the ground and put handcuffs on them. Then the next step is people in cages. So what we're talking about here, and we're going to keep talking about this, there's no such thing as a bystander in the age of gangster fascism. You're an enabler or a resistor. And we are part of the resistance here. So here's some great messages. One is just straight up says, fascism isn't just an American problem. It's rising worldwide. Charlie Angus and Meidas Canada are proving that the fight for democracy doesn't stop at any border. Be the one who speaks out. Be the one who stands up. Be the one who refuses to let hate win. This is bigger than Canada, bigger than the U.S. This is global. In response to the piece that we did called Be That Guy on how to stand up to fascism, we received some really powerful messages. My mother grew up in Friesland. She told us of the time she would wake up as a child and realize there were strangers sleeping for a night or two in their home, and then suddenly move on. She told us that there were Jewish families that her parents and uncles had quietly helped move out of the country. As a young child, these stories helped me for my own inner resistance to fascism. I've been thinking a lot about those long ago events lately. Whether we choose secret or vociferous resistance, we need to remember our better angels and do our part. I got this great one from Kansas. From Kansans for Canada. I'm 74 now. My father was a custom combiner. I grew up cutting wheat in Canada. Those were the days. I loved Canada and Canadians all my life. Coffee cups and elbows up. But how times have changed. Yes, our friends in Kansas, times have changed, but we still show solidarity with each other. This is Irene from Germany. We stand with Canada in the Midas mighty world against fascism. Thank you, Mr. Angus, for your courageous and so needed work to stand up and to inform us of the upcoming dangers. You and the Midas touch are the most hopeful heroes of the resistance today. Here's another one from Denmark. Jane says, my paternal grandparents were part of the anti-Nazi resistance in Denmark during the Second World War, living in North Jutland, then making a living as both fishers and farmers. They were positioned to help the German Jews escape to safety and did so for many. Being a resistor must be heritable. I feel the same in my veins that my grandparents did when I hear the word fascism. That's the really important thing. We come from a long line of fascist resistors. We need to be remembering the stories of our parents and our grandparents who were there on those front lines before so that our young people don't have to be on the front lines in the future. I like this one. Cynthia, amazing morning. Fed our kitty cats, seeds for the birdies, fed the stray cat, hot coffee, and another chit-chat with Charlie. Best start of the day. Thank you. Well, Cynthia, I hope you're having a good day. And Donna, thank you, Charlie from Virginia. 76 years on this beautiful planet and so proud of the Midas Mighty and the Midas Maple Wave, growing every day to speak truth and defy hate. Let this wave of resistance become a tsunami of compassion for all living things. Let's overthrow the haters and turn our attention to saving this blue jewel traveling through space and time. Wow, what a beautiful sentiment. And that is part of it as well. It's not just that we're standing up to the gangster fascists. We also have to stand up to save this world. Because what happened, in the climate crisis and the economic precarity, it happened on our watch. And we need to fix it for the young people who are coming up. Kenrick from the UK. We're so proud of Maple Midas. We need a Blighty Midas to challenge Keir Starmer, Nigel Mirage, and Kemi Badenoch. Oh, yes, my friends in the UK. We really need to see that strong UK spirit of resistance in this time. And j'ai reçu ce message de Michel. Je suis québécoise et je résiste au fascisme. Jamais au Québec, jamais au Canada. Ben oui, madame, nous allons vaincre les gangsters avec la solidarité et les déterminations des peuples du Canada pour lutter contre le fascisme. Pour ça, je vous remercie. And here's Joyce. She says, the Tesla dealership here in Kitchener had a parking lot full of vehicles, including those hideous cyber trucks. Oh, those are the Panzer trucks, right? Yes. People protested that dealership. Now it only has approximately a quarter of those vehicles. Schindler's List to me is that guy with his arms crossed. Thank you, Charlie, and Midas Canada. She's talking about the photograph I referenced of the man standing with his arms crossed while everyone else was giving the Nazi salute. And yeah, those Tesla takedowns are great, so keep them up. Here's another one from Denmark. Ellen, my uncle was a resistance worker in Denmark. German Jews who could cross into Denmark would be shepherded to the coast, placed in tiny fishing boats to larger vessels, moved them on to neutral Sweden. The Danes never lost a Danish Jew. And after the war ended, these Danish resistance workers were honored by the king. Stella, from Greece. You brought back memories of resistance when I was 20 years old. Greece had a dictatorship for 7 years, from 1967 until 1974. In November 1973, the students of the Polytechnic University in Athens barricaded themselves in the building, and the resistance started. Every night, I stood outside the university's gate, along with thousands of other Athenians. And pretty soon, the majority cities of Greece exploded. No more fear of tear gas and guns. We stood up, and a year later, the dictatorship fell. Of course, there were a lot of deaths that happened in those 7 years, but the people won. At the end, the people won. Thank you. And here's a message from Judy, writing from Jerusalem. I grew up in Detroit, so Canada was part of our lives. We went there often. Thank you for your dedication. Thank you, Judy. And Vicky, we got a whole bunch. Vicky from Ohio says hi. Aaron from Wisconsin. Sue and Purdy, Washington. Curtis from Southwest Montana. Leona from Cape Breton Island. Yes, that's where my mom's from. And Jax from New Zealand. And we had another great message from a New Zealand resistor who said that Canadians did elbows up, but sometimes they also have to do knees up. We get your message, cousin. And here's one from Greg Pigeon. My uncle, J.J. Pigeon, died fighting the Nazis in 1944, flying a Halifax bomber for the Royal Canadian Air Force. After 29 missions, his plane went during a training mission over England. It was the day before his 22nd birthday. Wow. You know, we've been thinking a lot of these stories, and people have been sharing stories with me of their uncles and grandfathers, and I know all my uncles went over to serve. It's why this is such an important thing. The line of democracy right now is being threatened. It's being threatened around the world. And if we let Putin and Trump, a militarized, aggressive China, start to decide to carve up the world, it won't be long before another young generation are having to fly the skies and to be out there in the trenches. And we're looking at the horrific violence in Ukraine right now. So what we do is we hold the line. So for that, the boycott in Canada remains super strong. Keep the boycott going. Again, I did an interview. It was hilarious with Canadian media, and they were like, well, in the spring, Canadians all showed a willingness to boycott, but now that's kind of slipped. And I said, when did it slip? What are you talking about? It hasn't slipped. Canadians are as determined as ever. I said to them, watch American media. They'll tell you because they're feeling the heat. The heat matters. The pressure economically, we have to keep the pressure up. It's the only thing that is going to stop the MAGA machine, is if they start to feel the economic pressures and it starts to fall apart on them. That will give people, our brothers and sisters, our cousins south of the border, a chance to start taking back some of the legislatures and start getting rid of some of these MAGA people before the fascist threat is too firmly entrenched. So anyways, I just wanted to share some of those messages with you and they're just a small sampling of all the great messages. So write and share your stories. Again, we've got just a couple of hats left from North Rustico, but we are going to be getting some really good Midas Canada swag to share with you. We're still working on that. We're working on so much right now. But I just want to say, please subscribe. All you got to do is press the subscribe button on the YouTube channel. Please support us in the written work we're doing at Charlie Angus Resistance Substack. If you have ideas, if you've got stories to share, send them along. We're in this together. We're going to keep kicking at the darkness until it bleeds daylight. So have a good day, my friends.